Public Health Week celebration. In public health, every voice matters. Today we come to you from all around the world to share one message.
نحن نحمي مجتمعاتنا من خلال التطعيم.
በበሽታ ከመያዛችን በፊት ጤንነታችንን እንጠብቅ።
By embracing preventative care, we take proactive steps toward a healthier tomorrow.
Tunashirikiana maarifa kujenga jamii yenye afya.
Se soutenir mutuellement, c'est renforcer notre santé collective.
Every conversation about health strengthens the bonds within our communities.
caafimaadku waa furaha farxadda iyo horumarka.
Mpona biso nyonso kolongono ya nzoto ezali bomengo.
Thank you so much. I also have a quick question. I thought it was super interesting in your presentation of the intersection of the mental health aspect. In our work with youth as well, we've done a lot of focus groups and discussions centering substance use and their experiences. And they've shared a lot about how technology has, or even just social media has really impacted their experiences navigating this world. But I thought it was so important that you mentioned that, and I didn't even consider the piece of how COVID affected incarcerated youth. That isolation is, I can't even imagine what that must have been like. So I'm curious, do you know of, or have you experienced whether with incarcerated youth or just youth in general, mental health supports, because I know that that's super, super important when it comes to their overall health. We talk a lot about the social determinants of health, so I know that that's going to be a really important piece, but I'm curious if you have any insights on that.
Yeah, so well, first thing, I was actually having a discussion with a good friend of mine that works with the Portland, I forgot, it's like some this tennis thing that he owns in his organization. He works with youth from really young all the way to really old. And one discussion we were just having a few days ago was that that youth right now are probably going through the worst depression yet, and that is due to the phones, right? And the reason why they're going through the worst depression is that the dopamines that they could be receiving from being out and being with their communities, they're actually scrolling on their phone so much through TikTok, through Instagram Reels, through Facebook, and all that, because they want the intentional automatic reward system rather than working for the reward system that your brain is composed of. So what I would say is, it's great technology where we all necessarily need it. That's why we're on, Zoom right now, right? We get our updates, we can do our scheduling, we can identify healthy foods, we can do research, we can do anything on our phones, which is a huge positive. But we also have to have the negative point of things, and how that can actually rechange your cognitive thinking and always trying to receive quick rewards. So now what would increase is, like, if something is not interesting, I'm not going to do it, because they only want interesting stuff, and that's how their mind is like. So in the world, they don't know how to interact with people on a personal base. So even for me, I limit myself when I'm scrolling. I'm like, oh, I'm doing it again. I drop my phone. And I would go out and, on a daily basis, I would like to go to at least one event, or go to a dinner, or it doesn't matter. I would like to interact with people so my interpersonal skills do not become flagrant, right? So that's a huge piece for youth, I would say, especially for COVID. And COVID was the first time where I actually sat back and I said, finally, thank God that there's something else that everybody else is scared of, that it does not have to be the black guy, right? Thank God. But at the same time, being incarcerated in your homes was the first time that you guys have felt some type of connection to how people are feeling incarcerated and inside of the mental facilities, as well as jail facilities. What happened inside the juvenile facilities were 23-hour lockdowns and separations, and for every, like, so they'll just take one room and then skip one room and they put a kid in one room, but it's 23-hour lockdowns at all times. So they would have 23-hour lockdowns pretty much stalled for over a year entirely. Maybe even more. Right now they're still in lockdown. But sometimes it's just due to such staff shortages and whatnot. And I don't know if you've heard the press, New York, we just were on the New York Times as well, state of Maine, and the juvenile systems on the New York Times. We have 2 articles out and we have a 3rd one coming out soon. And yeah, it's just tons of articles, and we have 2 bills in the legislature. But anyway, I think COVID really restructured all of us. We're still on Zoom. 2019, 2018, we were going to meetings, right? It really changed and navigated the way we move. And a social health thing is that communities have always existed. We look at America and everybody's individualized. When we look at South America, there's always a community, whether you're watching it through movies or been there. When you go to Africa, there are communities. When you go to India, there are communities. When you go to Spain, there's still a community in the street, right? I don't even know my neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people do actually know their neighbors? So what it actually did was cause us to be divided, which is really dangerous, honestly, because of the mental health and issues that could occur. So not only do we think about the adults, we have to think about how the youth don't even realize why they're depressed. We know why we're depressed. We know why we're sad or stressed out and whatnot, but the youth don't even know why. And that's why they're hurt. A lot of I don't know, have the exact data, so I won't say anything about it, but I heard of not only depression but self-harm is happening inside of people's homes, the regular everyday American. So my best advice is to try to keep it on a lock, like a certain amount of time, 1 hour a day, where you can be on your phone, but you have to go do something else. I don't care what you do. Go outside, go play with the snow, go do something, hang out with the neighbors, really, getting to programming, anything like that, so they can have a more just basic lifestyle. That's just human nature. We're not supposed to be behind the screens all day, and it's really dangerous. So that's what I would add.
I saw a question from Laden in the chat. I'm not sure if you're able to
Yeah, I can
go
read it.
off mute. I can read your question as well. The question says, do you believe that there should be more emphasis on educational opportunities inside prisons so that people can come out with more knowledge and skills that they can utilize?
Yeah, I mean, there are education options, being incarcerated. That's like when I was inside, I went for my college. I went for my degree, my diploma at the age of 16, went to college at 17. I had a 3.9 GPA. But most of that was really due to me trying to get out of my cell. Put anyone in any difficult environment, it doesn't matter what you teach them. I don't think it would teach them about the ways to live life. And the times that these youth get are anywhere from 4 years, 5 years, and anything you do wrong in there, you can get charged, and then get sentenced more in the adult system. You'll just be transferred over to the prison system. So you can get an education. I know a lot of individuals that are inside with master degrees in the prisons, and they can't do anything with it. Right. So the education piece is a very beautiful thing that you can get inside the facilities, but what's the utilization if you don't know how to live life? Like coming out, I was scared to walk out in the street because I've been literally in one place for so long that I didn't know how to like talk to people. I didn't know how to make my own. Like I had to reteach myself how to live life. And you got to think about how many kids are in there for 6-7 years, just being fed for 3 times a day and everything like that, and then being locked in, that they start to lose how to live in an active life, and only the strongest make it out. So the reality is, yeah, education is a good piece, but I think that's secondary. The first piece is really just being able to walk and talk and live in, like, just interact with individuals. And that's why a lot of them go into drugs and alcohol, because they need the exact reward. They're always in panic because of the misdiagnosis. I think it's about more than half the youth have a mental health diagnosis inside of all facilities, way more than half. I don't know the exact percentage as well. But if you cannot just live a regular life and get into drugs and overdose because you'd rather to be dead than to live in a state of panic all the time. Only the strongest to make it out. So yeah, educational pieces are there, and it's optional. But I don't think I don't think in any facility you can. There should be some type of like lock-ins, but it shouldn't be to the levels that are out right now. There should be other options before thinking about locking somebody up because of their harm. Just saying, the PTSD of being incarcerated is probably the worst PTSD I've ever experienced than any other PTSD. So, and we all have it too. We all have PTSD. So that's my answer for that.
I really enjoy that you pointed that out, is that it's not just the education or the trade that you are able to acquire while you're inside. It's also what happens with that after. Because there's also the employment once you are able to work through that fear of walking and living and being in public. There is also searching for employment with a record, with especially Black and Brown people. Finding an employment with a degree without any incarceration is hard as it is. So I know there is. Forgive me, I forgot the company in Portland. There is one gentleman that has been incarcerated, and he made it into an initiative, and he created an organization for himself where he intentionally hires incarcerated or people that have been incarcerated, which, it takes initiatives like that for employers to be able to work with folks that have educations and that are trying to build life after being incarcerated. So I appreciate you pointing that out. It's not just the education, it's after. With your work with the police force, you said that you developed the behavioral department. Do you think, is there any effort with getting the police force to have a closer relationship with youth at a young age, at early stage, so that they have a more safe relationship, a more healthier relationship before kids are, incarcerated, or before kids are turning to the wrong side of the street? Is there any kind of initiative that is trying to build a healthier relationship between youth and law enforcement?
Well, first off, I just want to just clarify one of the pieces that I think I probably misspoke, that we were appointed by the mayor to be on the Race and Equity Committee, and it consisted of 12 people. So we didn't do work with the police to get to remove police. We wrote the policy for them to get removed and decreased and whatnot after doing a lot of research. And there was tons of intelligent people that were on there. What I would say is this: like in the early 2000s, I'm sorry, between 90s and 2000s, I don't remember the exact date, there were, because of school shootings, police officers were put into all of these schools in the country, like tons of, well, not all the schools, but majority of the schools in the country. And what happened was that the turnout has become, not one police officer has ever stopped a police shooting, a school shooting, but over 1 million kids have been arrested ever since then. Usually black and brown due to behavioral reasons. So that's the first piece I would say. We had a program here back when I was in Reiki in elementary school that connected to, some of the police officers that were on bikes with the youth, and that's a great program, I would say. But the problem is the power segment between them. Not only do we have innocence, individuals that are in our communities, now we have a police officer with a lot of power. So the power segment is not fair enough because this president hasn't built their own identified identity, right? And we don't want to risk the youth to be put in a position where this guy has a gun and all I know about police officers is anything bad can happen to me. So what we would rather say is counselors. What we rather say is what you call mentors. What we would rather want is psychiatrists and therapists. What we would rather want is coaches. We would rather have these things in our communities so we can help the youth build themselves, like a Boys and Girls Club, more, but on an outside base, right? A YMCA, but more on the outside base. and I'm saying this like just like the suburban communities, right? Not a lot of suburban kids know all the police officers. Maybe they do because of their families, right? But for a police officer to completely identify every single youth, can actually be more dangerous when it comes to because the current police policies are actually to go into the inner communities. So it's like a more dangerous piece to give that to power, when you can reinvest that and give it to positive things like the public health initiatives and counseling and whatnot. So I think navigating those pieces is vital.
Yeah, thank you for that perspective because we work with a lot of youth and in the schools and try to advocate for the youth and engaging with educators and holding them accountable on not using um, damaging languaging when talking about especially Black and brown kids. When a kid is labeled aggressive, it kind of it carries throughout their life. So understanding behavioral kind of outbursts or reactions and really understanding the root cause of it rather than just labeling and punishing. So it's a really important perspective to have and how it could be it could lead to consequences not just within that month of that detention or like the next following year of what that student's record is going to be. It's going to look like. Zakia, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. So I really enjoyed when you pointed out in your presentation how there's this pipeline, and the analogy that you used was shutting off the faucet, kind of getting to the source. And a really important piece of that I noticed was um, your sort of emphasis on the urban planning aspect. When you look at Kennedy Park in Lewiston, Kennedy Park in Portland, these spaces that are supposed to be community centered are now essentially meant for surveillance because we've got the police station right up next to them. So, and in public health, even in our conversations this week, we talked a lot about how we can create sustainable communities. How can we build capacity in our communities? How can we create spaces where our communities are empowered? And there's been a lot of conversation in the urban planning space about smart cities and how do we leverage technology, data analysis. And that can be scary as well because with data analysis comes a lot of exploitation of our communities because they want our data but they don't like us. So it makes me question, how can we as public health professionals, as people with decision-making power in the public health sphere, how can we create more sustainable communities? If we can leverage technology, that would be an amazing way, I think, to create spaces where our communities are empowered, our youth have spaces where they feel safe, they feel connected, they have access to mentorship, they have all of these different resources around them. I wanted to hear your perspective on that, with regards to how we can create more equitable communities around us to stop that pipeline, to kind of get at that source.
Well, first off, it's a war that's happening in our social environments. I will say that the music, specifically hip hop music, and the music producers and all that, the people that really own it, are okay with violent music coming out when there is positive music that could come out with it. That hip hop, when it comes to hip hop, you hear country music really that's not violent. We don't hear rock music that's violent, and this is obviously a direct point at making gangster rap that started in the late 90s, and the plan was um, to start making gangster rap rather than just hip hop, right? Because everything was fun then. And when gangster rap hit, it was with the drug infestation, there was a drug infestation, crack on the coke, and the war on crime. It led people to that, and now we have a lot of kids growing up with gun, this, that. So that's the whole issue that it's more the media's is the problem, right? It's a manipulation of individuals. Just like we wouldn't know about COVID if it wasn't for internet and everything like that. And people don't know about how to be violent until they hear it from music and see it from movies and whatnot. So that's the first thing that would have to be battled. The second thing that would have to be battled is the communities itself. Like you said, this high cameras and everything like that in our communities, as well as any other Black communities, Black and brown urban communities, and as well as the police force. So what I would say is that start the initiatives in the bottom, because you need something to start off with. And youth justice will start off by an idea. We worked with many different youth. I hire only when if you have a police a record, right? That's the only people that I hire. And the reason why we do that is now we not only you getting paid, now we have the avenue to educate ourselves and identify and figure out how to disrupt the whole system as it is, and also recreate it in a positive way. And what we notice is that we have to do it ourselves first, right? So public health has to do it themselves first. They have to be inside of schools and whatnot. They have to connect with the leaders in the community. They have to connect with the top advocates and activists. They have to connect with therapists and people that can work their time, whether it's going to be a grant towards the schools, or grant towards the community, so it can be paid for. Therapists, I'm talking about, like psychologists, psychiatrists, all of that. How we can even start it with one person at a time, and then the influence is the city council. And the reason why I specifically say this is because after 5 years of working with me and Inside Out, trying to build the community that I wanted, I noticed that nothing was changing. So that's why we started Maine Youth Justice, to primarily go after policy, because policy, nobody can say nothing no about it, right? And so if you guys then advocate for the city council to, or run for office, to divert some of the finances that's actually going to policing to these positive outcomes, of these positive tools to use, right? These innovative tools to use. We can see better outcome. We can see better, because the kids are not supposed to stay inside the house. They're supposed to be outside and playing. That's their practice of life, right? And if they're outside and playing and they're listening to that music and just hanging out and only seeing police, they're automatically going to get into the gang violence. And if we see the more communal, like if you come outside, you see paintings and you see people always doing events and whatever, soccer tournaments, I don't know, anything like that, you're going to eventually like go into something like that, because that's the only thing you guys have around you. So to decrease it, you have to change the whole culture of it. And to change the whole culture of it, it's going to take organizations and people, initiatives that are trying to build it. And then from that, where else do you need to do a policy change when it comes to the powers, especially specifically in the city. The state right now we're working with, because we're trying to do some state work, but the cities have a lot of money when it comes to the communities. They have a lot of power when it comes to communities. So advocating for that at city council meetings, and hounding of the mayor could really navigate that. And it's a small population. We have about 67,000 people in the city of Portland, Lewis, and I don't know exactly. I think it's about 40,000. Maybe I may be wrong, but it has a smaller margin to work with, compared to a state that has 1.2 million people, right? 1.1 million people. So I think that it's a lot more possible when you in the city. If you just got to connect with people, sit with a city councilor, this is our move. Do a small protest. It doesn't matter. I keep advocating. It's all about relationships. Like once you build relationships with city councils and then mayor, you're good. Now you can put in an idea and it'll come through. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are not focused on that, because they're focused on their life. But I think there has to be a lot of focus with politics. When doing any type of bottom work. That's the only way things are going to change. Oh, and then the technology piece. This is my piece where I won't like going all the way. The innovative technology is a positive way. And like whenever you're doing presentations, you can use a huge TV. Whenever you rent, like there's I think there's a program in Lewiston, I forgot the name of it as well. But whenever you're doing big events or whatever, using the technology to connect people, maybe create an app, and tell people this is what the scheduling of all community program things, and whatnot. So just utilizing it in a positive way. The phones are universal. So just any creative idea to just obtain it, and it's a lot easier than we think. It's just really doing it, and it's fun, honestly. It's kind of like building community, living life.
I wanted to ask one more question before we go into a breakout room. Kathy had a question in the chat. Says, do you have any experience with intergenerational initiatives that connect youth and older adults in efforts to support both?
There was a lot of initiatives in the past, but like mentorship and whatnot, I don't really notice it anymore. Like even if it was like bring your dad to what is it, like career day, whatever, it's career stuff, or whether connecting with like say the firefighters come to our communities. I don't really see that. We see high levels of separation in everything. We don't know how firefighters work. Do we know that firefighters only work 3 days consecutive? We don't know about that. We don't know how nurses work. We don't know how the construction people work. We don't know how any of this stuff works. And so to be integrated in it, there has to be an opportunity to, they used to be turkey give outs, and they used to be like, oh, whatever it was, like Easter hunts, and all these other people would come. Yeah, so that there is a lack of intergenerational connection and whatnot. But I think that all specifically has to do with us, right? Advocating for it and letting people know also, and speaking into when advocating at the city council, just putting that out there so people that do have professions that are focusing on it can be like, this is a great idea. Yes, Kathy.
I'm actually thinking, in addition to that, which I think is all really good, but looking at the elders in your community, how you connect, with older people, that are maybe not currently working, but have a lot of, cultural background that would be really great for youth to be more connected with, and all. That would be a lovely thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, the elders are the number one place where I get all my information. So, in my teaching, so I think that once again, it's more due to us, right? It's due to the elders. It's due to the initiatives and organizing. It's really just bringing up the idea and actually creating it, making it happen. Everything comes from the idea. And we think that it's harder than it seems. It's really not. So we started a campaign that's working throughout the whole state. You know what I'm saying? And we're like 5 youth, like that just created this idea, and now we have one of the largest campaigns, and the least amount of kids that are incarcerated in the whole country, right? So it's
Right.
literally, if we can do that, then it's not really hard to do something in the community. Right now, I actually live right next to Hispanics, like a bunch of Hispanics on the street, like really cultural Hispanics, and I'm telling you, they're already on their stuff at the churches. They have the big give outs, or they will come by and have like you could like purchase your food. Other restaurants would come through. And they're always doing something. They brought the community here, right? So it's possible that now that we have technology, we could put, how they used to go to logs, and they used to staple them, so you can have yes. But there we can do that in any way. We can have it schools announce it. We can just email schools, be like, hey, please give this announcement of this huge thing that's happening. And it's all about connection. Literally, it's a lot easier. All these rules and everything, just don't ignore the rules and regulations. As long as you're organizationally correct, and 501(c)(3) or whatever, just bang it out. Gateway is doing a great job right now in a community. I went to the largest Islamic event where the mayor and everyone was just there, and it's so beautiful. And I was like, damn, like I don't know any of these people. I grew up here, So, yeah, it was great. So it's just like, seeing something like that is just something that they came up with an idea, and then just having a small team and just creating it. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm not sure how many group, Zakia, I think you were able to see that. So if
There was
anyone,
about three groups. Yep.
okay. If anyone from group 1 would like to share something that
There was
I think it was a group 2.
There wasn't a
The group 1 didn't have anybody in there. Yeah. It was group 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, thank you. So anybody from group 2 would like to share something that stood out to them?
Yeah, I'm from group 2. I was working with Hugo and Tara, sorry. So just answering, we didn't get through all the questions, but just answering the first question so far is how can these innovations be adapted or implemented to address specific public health challenges in Maine? We thought that in some ways, of course, technology and social media platforms could help boost could help grab a range of audience, but also we thought that face-to-face connection was something that was missing, and we could, by implementing that, could help address the specific challenges in Maine. For the second question, are there any emerging technologies or tools that could revolutionize public health initiatives in our communities? We said just tools in general, where like health monitors blood pressure. Uh, Blood pressure. I think that's monitored too. Just different ways that we can help access our health and through the technologies and tools in our communities. We didn't get to the next question.
No problem. Thank you so much. Group 3, is there anything that you guys would like to share?
Yeah, I think we were chosen to speak on behalf of I mean, I was chosen to speak on behalf of Group 3. We just talked about what we can do to help youth with the technology piece. And yeah, the one of the things we just talked about is like, you know, a lot of us have children and a lot of us have like, you know, siblings and whatnot. Just really like almost nearly eliminating the technology for them at the really young ages, you know, so they can go outside and be outside and go to the, you know, the museums. There's, you know, going to the park and making sure they're connected like that with that. I don't think we've really connected on technology itself on a positive innovation piece, but also how to connect to elderlies and the elderly and community and how they can be more part of the community because they've been feeling left out and because they have a lot of wisdom and whatnot. And I think like, you know, one of the things that we came out from that was to actually be at the events and just, you know, build a connection and whatnot from there. And then after you get connected with the community, maybe hopefully speak at an event or so on that piece. Yeah, and then I mean the last thing was just like I think the innovations is the stuff that I've talked about earlier. So
Thank you, Group 3. Is there a Group 4 before I said Group 4? Would Group 4 would like to share?
That would be Levin, and TT, and Vanessa, I believe.
Yeah, I can share for group 4. We didn't get to answer all the questions, but one of the questions that we answered was about how to leverage technology into the community in order to help the community. We kind of echoed what was already said about organizations connecting with schools through technology and letting schools know about things like events that are planned so that the youth can get involved and students can show up to those events and benefit from the knowledge and the experience of interacting with other youth and adults at the event. We also spoke about the importance of youth interacting with people outside of technology and also utilizing technology to benefit us because a lot of people don't use it for the benefits that can be brought out of technology. One example was how in the past, people or students specifically had to do research by going to the library, looking at textbooks. And while that's still done now, one great benefit of technology is that people can easily research right on their phone or on their laptop. So we were saying people should utilize that more and take more initiative to do research, learn new skills, new languages, things like that.
Yeah, that is, I agree with that, Laden. We sometimes forget how strong our phone is. I talked about this, I think, the other day with colleagues at the office. We don't actually know how to use our phone properly for what we can gain from it, from tracking our steps to health and to being able to have information at our fingertips. Uh, and it really is an initiative that a person has to take to be more informed, right? If we want to be more informed, if we want to be more involved, we have the resources at our fingertip that we are able to get connected with events that are happening within the community, um, get informed about policies and initiatives to better help and to better improve our community. So all of that information really is at our fingertip. So we just have to be the better judge of character, whether to use it in a healthy way or to evaluate the negative side of it And as the adults and as the leaders in the community, we have to look out for the youth and really monitor what is the healthy way of utilizing innovation and tools and technology to be able to support the growth of the youth, and really keep an eye out for those negative side of the technology. Um, so I want to say thank you so much for sticking through the technological issues that we were having today. I know I got kicked off several times, and I know a few of you still came back after getting kicked off. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, for Ali, for joining us last minute and giving such a practical and a much needed information that we need about our community. And I hope you guys stay warm and cozy and stay safe. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we know if tomorrow's session will be in person?
Yes, so tomorrow's session, our guest speaker's flight has been kind of canceled, so we're just kind of on standby with that. We will try to keep everyone updated through emails. So those of you that have been here with us today, registered, so we have your email address, and we will do our best to send out an information. And also, we will post it on all of our social media as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Knock it out.